Audience, welcome to Viewpoint from Overseas. I'm your host Faraz Darvesh. We've got several different topics with us on the table. First, we will discuss what is going on in India and Pakistan. This nuclear deterrence policy has been happening, has been in place for quite some time, for more than 2 decades. Pakistan recently launched and tested MIRV, the multiple warhead technology that could fire multiple warheads at a time. And also, Pakistan tested a SLCM, which is a cruise missile that could be launched via submarine. What is really going on there? I mean, both countries are next to each other. If there is ever, God forbid, if there is ever a nuclear war, it could destroy the entire region. What is up with those two countries, India and Pakistan? Riaz, let me take it to you, and then Misbah. Riaz, first tell us this nuclear deterrence policy. So far they've been successful. There has never been a limited or any type of war that could have escalated. But what is really going on when they keep on developing such dangerous missiles?
Yeah, I think the value of the deterrence is in credibility, that the other side has to believe that if they do something, then there will be a response. And for that, the survivability is very important. If, for example, India believes that they can completely wipe out Pakistan's nuclear arsenal, which is, let's say, all land-based, then they're going to be tempted to do that. They, do a massive strike, take out all of these missiles that are on land, and then they have a, free hand after that. On the other hand, if they believe that they cannot take out all of them and that there will be a response, so they will not undertake such a mission.
They will not attempt.
They will not attempt it.
Right.
So that's the whole idea of deterrence. Deterrence is to make the other party believe that if they do something, there will be a strong response.
But suppose if India were to launch a nuclear missile against Pakistan, India itself will be destroyed.
No, but if they believe that they can completely wipe out in one, go, all of Pakistan's nuclear arsenal, then they might be tempted to do it. On the other hand, if they know that they cannot take them all out, let's say it's not just land-based, it's called nuclear triad, that you have the ability to launch missiles not only from land, but also from the air and from water, from the sea, then that is a bigger deterrent. The other important thing is that India is developing an anti-ballistic missile shield, meaning that if any ballistic missiles are fired at India, they're developing the technology to try and prevent those, to basically, shoot those missiles down while they're still in the air. So they will not be hit the Indian territory. So if they believe that they can completely prevent Pakistan from launching any attack by basically doing the missile shield, then they might be more tempted to do it. What MIRV technology does, in fact, both the cruise missiles and the MIRV. Cruise missiles are very hard to detect because they fly very low and they are basically terrain hugging, so it's very difficult to see them on the radar and hit them. They have to go to a certain height in order for the missile defense to come into play. The other issue, the other thing is that if they believe, if you have a multiple independent re-entry vehicles, if you have one missile but you have multiple warheads, that again is very difficult to stop. So this is the deterrence value of having the multiple independent warheads.
So they both of them keep on developing more dangerous missiles or technology just to.
But the nuclear missiles are dangerous regardless.
Right.
The difference is both sides have to believe that the other person can hit them back in order for that balance to be maintained and for them to not attempt it.
Ms. Well, let me take it over to you. I mean, what I don't understand is they keep on developing, advancing their technology just to keep the deterrence level, right? The question really becomes, if one were to attack the other because they are next to each other, would let's say if India were to attack Pakistan, would India itself, the portion of India, would itself be destroyed or not? Based on my understanding, it will be.
Yeah, but do they really care? I mean, see, that is the thing that it is very important.
So India doesn't care if the area near Pakistan that belongs to India could be destroyed.
Let me finish it. What I am trying to say is that it is very important to have the governments in both countries should have some kind of sanity prevail, because if this type of right-wing extremist people sitting there, I mean, sure, you remember what Mr. George Fernandez, he was not in no way considered any religious fanatic. He was a defense minister of India during early 2000. He said that, well, India can take 3-4 missiles, but Pakistan will be wiped out. I mean, these kind of things.
These kind of statements.
These kind of statements between
which
them.
are immature statements.
It is very immature statement. So, I mean, India and Pakistan, you can expect anything, but of course, I don't think they will go to that extent.
Well, are they mature enough? Are these both nations, are they mature enough not to end up in any dangerous situation where the almost 1.5 billion people in that entire region?
Well, more than once they went into this situation. Sometime from Pakistani adventurism, sometime from Indians. Like happening nowadays. They're
Have they come that close?
Kargil was a war, right? I mean, we had 2-3 wars against India, Then look at it, Kargil was even after the nuclear tests were done, both sides, So, of course, I mean, we have a capability to come up with these kind of adventurism. And see, very interesting thing, India recently got S-4000 missiles, like SA-21, which NATO calls it. These S-4000 missiles
S-400.
4,000.
Is it? I thought S-400 is the Russian missile battery.
Yeah, Russian missile battery, which it is very sophisticated to stop the incoming missiles. This multi-warhead missiles, these things do not work very well. If you remember SDI, the Strategic Defense Initiative by President Reagan, in that one, most of the weapons were created to somehow counter the multi-warhead missile batteries. So S-400 or 4,000, I don't, maybe we can check later on, may not be as good. However, I heard when India got that, some of their ministers were saying, oh, geez, now Pakistani nuclear bomb has we should not be worried about anything. So if you have this type of attitude...
No, but you can't control, India can't control 1 billion people from passing statements, right? There will be...
These are not 1 billion people.
Not 1 billion
These
people.
These are policymakers, defense ministers.
These are the people sitting, on the helm of affair, unfortunately. And they are saying that by 2021, we will wipe out all the Christians and Muslims from India, I mean, these are the people who are supported by the government and supporting the government. And some of them are the junior ministers, You can now say that, oh, they are junior minister, that was they say. But where it will stop?
There could be series of statements, harsh statements. We're going to go destroy them. We're going to wipe them out.
But
that's how wars start.
See, that is dangerous, right? I mean, this is the way it is. That when I have a Cold Start Doctrine, I say, okay, I would go and wipe you out. Okay, they say, okay, we will make it tactical nuclear weapon. Then they say, oh, now we have S-400 or 4,000, whatever.
Keep advancing.
Yeah, so keep advancing. Now we will do that. Now you have other. So this is called as the race, which was started between US and USSR. India, this is my understanding, that Indian diplomats who are sitting in New Delhi, maybe some of them have this deep feeling that if they keep on moving like that, like US did that and Russia was following that for the deterrence, one day it will come that Pakistan will be collapsed economically, and they can stand up and they can make their make their things work, whatever they want.
So basically, USSR deal. US and Russia deal.
Like a US and Russia, that Russia was collapsed. So if this is the case,
if this is what they are thinking,
if this is they are thinking, then Pakistan has to be very careful, not only in the creating the military hardware, but they have to work hard to keep the economic engine going and have a good relations with Iran.
Well, when you compare two economies, Pakistan is nowhere near India. So,
yeah, but I think the issue is as follows. There's been a lot of discussion lately about Cold Start, for example. There's a book that just came out recently by Myra McDonald about India and Pakistan. And in that book, she talks about Operation Parakram, which happened in 2002. In fact, December 2001 is when they started mobilizing forces against Pakistan, and it lasted for about 8 or 9 months. They had massive forces mobilized. And at the end, they decided, hey, they couldn't really do it. They couldn't do what they wanted to do. They would not be able to accomplish their objectives, so they pulled back in the end. After that, they developed what they call the Cold Start Doctrine, where they said that we're going to have a smaller, more mobile force. And the objective of Cold Start is to quickly and rapidly move against Pakistan, take a chunk of its territory, and then force Pakistan to negotiate. And basically agree to to have India the ability to dictate terms to Pakistan. But a couple of analysts have actually written about this. One is a professor of war studies at in London at I think it's Imperial College or something, or a University College, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the name of that place is, but his name is Walter Ladwig. Okay. Walter Ladwig has written an article in which he talks about this, and he says that India definitely has superiority, conventional superiority over Pakistan, but the kind of conventional superiority that is necessary to quickly move and take territory and force Pakistan into a surrender situation is not possible. He says right now they're like 2 to 1 or 2.5 to 1 in terms of strength of the forces that would move in. And then even those, even if they had 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, it's still very difficult to quickly move and take territory for several reasons. One is that Pakistan is also very well prepared to defend itself. It can move forces much faster. Pakistan is a smaller country, so it's easier to move forces and deploy them quickly. India is much larger. It takes them longer to deploy the forces. The second thing is that the terrain in that area favors the defenders. If Pakistanis are defending themselves, then the terrain actually favors them. So the Indians would not be able to succeed. The other thing, another Indian analyst, actually, Meenakshi Sood, she's with a think tank in New Delhi, a defense and security think tank, and she has written that Pakistan has developed its own counter strategy. It's called New Concept of War Fighting that has been developed by Pakistan, which will allow it to move them even more rapidly than any Indian force could, and have better coordination. In fact, they did a massive training exercise for this particular strategy, developed the strategy. It's called Operation Azmina. And in that operation, they actually used, it was all three forces participated in that, the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. So to say that Pakistan would have to resort immediately to using nuclear weapons is a fallacy. They believe that Pakistan has the ability to fend off any Indian attack using conventional forces right now.
So are they not advising Prime Minister Modi and his cabinet?
Well, you don't know what they're thinking inside. What I hear is that the Indian Army has come up with this Cold Start Doctrine. In fact, it was confirmed by their General Rawat, the guy who's their commander-in-chief, now the Indian Army chief. But apparently I hear that the Air Force has not bought into it, and that's the key component of it. And it's not clear whether or not that strategy is bought into by the politicians. It's there, but it's not certain if it's really, if it's real.
So, just first thing, Riaz is right. It is S400, SA21. I just checked that.
So now, how to de-escalate tensions between India and Pakistan. If Europe could be together, Europe could be united after fighting 2 world wars. Why can't Pakistan and India be together? I mean, why can't they be united? Why can't they work for a better South Asia? And, instead of keep investing into this, arm race, they could invest into poverty. They could invest into upping the medical treatments, in hospitals, education. Something I can't understand.
3 things: economy, economy, economy. Pakistan-India economy has a big gap coming between them. India is getting bigger. We are getting worse and worse. I mean, Pakistan.
So the gap is getting larger
and larger. And time will come. Economical gap. And time will come that India, Chabahar. Muhammad Yusuf says, we made Chabahar for them because we get stuck there. We will not make a...
We did not give them a route.
No, we did not give them a route. Then for the Raqqa 6, when China wanted Pakistan to include Afghanistan, Pakistan has reluctance there. So China made this deal and had Afghanistan into the CPAC project, So the thing is that we are closing our own...
you mean Pakistan?
Pakistan, yeah. I mean, the thing is that we are closing our own things. We have to make good relations with... Exactly. If we give a route from Pakistan to India, India
to use Pakistan
to go to Central Asia, Afghanistan. Right. If they do it, their corporate, may not relation improve. Maybe we will never be a friends. But the thing is that the corporate over there, which controls corporate India, they have a stake in Pakistan stability.
Prime Minister Modi to keep the tensions low.
Like those families initially, they were supporting Modi, and one of the family, they wanted to use the power plants and work and sell it to Pakistan in Rajasthan actually.
Right.
So that area, near area, But
so
of course,
we have to increase independence on each other.
Exactly. We have, as long as you don't give this. You be isolated and we expect
so that China... So Pakistan's counter, they don't want to solve the Kashmir, hence we can't give them the route. Kashmir is the issue number 1. We need to sit together, solve Kashmir, and then talk about, economic improvements and, trade routes and all that.
If India has a stakes in Pakistan, if India has a stakes in peace with Pakistan, they will automatically want to resolve Kashmir.
Riaz, let me take it to you. There are 2 narratives. Pakistan narrative is, we want to discuss Kashmir. We want to solve Kashmir before we move to the trade routes, to the investments and business collaboration, all that. India's narrative has been, let's put Kashmir on the shelf. We can we can develop good relations in terms of economic collaboration. We can build the trade routes and then keep discussing Kashmir. Which one would you agree with?
Yeah, but first let me address some of the things that Mesbah just said. First, Indian economy and Pakistani economy, the gap is going to get so big. I don't think that's going to happen. Today, Indian economy is about 8.5, 9 times. And all of the forecasts that I have seen, and these are, from the IMF, the World Bank, long-term forecasts, and, places like PricewaterhouseCoopers come up with where they're going to be in 2030 and 2050. India does not get bigger than 10x Pakistan. Okay, now 10x is fairly big, but 10x is not a lot bigger than the situation today. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think Pakistan is going to do fine.
What was the gap at the time of independence?
Oh, that's very hard to tell because Pakistan is no longer. I don't remember.
What was the gap in 1970s?
I don't have that data. So anyway.
I'm just saying the historical gap has been increasing. Well, I mean, if you look at historically.
Yeah, but it doesn't get so big that we cannot manage it. I think Pakistan does not need to exactly match India. If we don't have to do exactly everything they do, what Pakistan has to do is have sufficient deterrence that India does not, get into this adventurism, which is what Pakistan has been able to do. And you have to be smart rather than, just spend a lot of money. In fact, even today, if you look at the defense budgets, there's a big gap. I mean, India is spending about 5 times more than Pakistan is spending today in defense. So there's a...
their economy is also 10x.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about Pakistan is not trying to match them. Okay. In fact, since the nuclear test in 1998, the percentage of Pakistan's the GDP percentage of defense budget, or GDP, or the Pakistan's defense budget as a percent of GDP has declined significantly. Back in the 60s and 70s, it used to be around 10%. Now it's about 3%.
Okay.
So it's been actually an advantage to us. Okay. In fact, going to nuclear, it's been a problem for India because as long as there were no nuclear weapons, India had such a massive superiority. Now it doesn't have that superiority because the nuclear weapons have actually equalized the field. The other important thing to remember is that people forget. They think that this is a normal situation. India is actually now run by Hindu nationalists. If you look at their philosophy, they're actually, Nazis, the fascists. This is their philosophy. They want to wipe out Muslims and Christians. This is what they think that they can do. So we're dealing with a very irrational bunch of people who are actually running India right now. So Pakistan has to be prepared. But giving them, more by appeasing them, it's like back when Neville Chamberlain was trying to appease Hitler. He was willing to give so much, and yet the war still came. It's not a good idea to appease India. It's a good idea to actually be prepared to deal with them, with whatever comes our way. So I would be very, in fact, if you give them, passage to Afghanistan or, the Chabahar wouldn't happen, all of that, I don't buy that.
When you say Hindu nationalists, you're pointing towards Prime Minister Modi, right?
Modi and his entire party. Right. Look at the kind of statements that come out of there.
Their narrative is Prime Minister Modi took the trip to Pakistan. He went to Pakistan.
Oh, they always say that. I mean, they always make it out like in fact, they're the ones who have always cut off talks with Pakistan. They find one excuse after another. In fact, the basic requirement, if you want to keep peace, is to talk. They're not willing to talk. Pakistan has always been willing to talk with them. They keep saying no. I think they believe that they can basically dictate terms to Pakistan just as they're dictating terms to other neighbors. And that's not going to happen. There's no way Pakistan is going to basically accept whatever India tells us to do.
Okay, now let me take it back to this. The question I initially raised is, should Pakistan and India put the issue of Kashmir on the shelf?
No, I don't think so. The reason you can't do it is because India has 700,000 troops there. There's constantly protests going on. They're killing people. If you had a situation between India and China, that could be set aside. But this is not the situation right now.
It could be reached to the situation between India and Pakistan. It could be a similar situation as in Pakistan and China. Once you open up the doors, once you open up the collaboration,
when you put 700,000 troops and forcibly occupy a land, it's not going to work. I mean, those troops are sitting right next to Pakistan. They're a threat to Pakistan.
But their narrative is you're sending the terrorists there.
Oh yeah, they always. I mean, all of the data shows that the infiltration is way down. Even their own data shows that what they call terrorist infiltration way down. It's never been, it's actually lowest ever in history. And they just keep making that as an excuse. So I think there's a lot of excuses being made. Right. Okay. Pakistan has to stand firm. Pakistan has to stand its ground instead of just, say, okay, We're going to set this aside or that aside. We're going to let you go through Pakistan territory to do trade. And then they're going to want more and more. This is what's going to happen.
Misbah.
Well, this is Riaz's view. Of course, I fully disagree with them. Actually, the world is connected economically. And if you give somebody a route to trade, it's not that you are pleasing them. I mean, this is kind of, I wouldn't go that far to say that it's pleasing. That anybody's country giving other country a trade route, it means I'm pleasing them. So this doesn't work. So of course,
it has to be mutual benefit.
Okay, just look at it. Just be a devil's advocate first of all. They say when Modi, not Prime Minister Modi, Prime Minister Vajpayee came to Pakistan in a bus, Kargil happened. When Prime Minister Modi tried to, when Manmohan Singh and Musharraf, they came closer, suddenly Mumbai happened, okay? When Prime Minister Modi came to Pakistan, Uri happened. Pathankot happened. Yeah. Okay. Now, believe whatever you want to believe, deny whatever you want to deny. World is saying that you guys have a problem there.
Yeah, the world is not saying that. The United States is saying it, the West is saying it, and that is because the geopolitics has changed.
Okay,
we don't have to worry. Yeah. We don't have to believe that everything the United States says or the West says is accurate.
So who should we believe then?
I think we should do what we need to do for ourselves instead of believe anybody else. We don't need any validation. See, geopolitics, they don't acknowledge anything that India has done to Pakistan. They don't acknowledge that India is interfering in Pakistan, that Balochists are supporting Baloch nationalists, that they're sending these TTP guys, they're actually sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan. They're sending people like Kulbhushan Yadav to actually carry out sabotage and to actually kill people in Pakistan. They're not willing to accept any of that. What they're willing to accept is Pakistan is doing all of these things. There's no balance in this discussion.
Yeah, so this is a good idea. You don't believe anybody, have bad relations with India, bad relations with Afghanistan, bad relations with Iran. China is not helping you now.
Oh, so China is absolutely helping Pakistan.
No, China is just leaving you alone. A lot of places.
That's a mistake.
China is saying that you go resolve your problem with United States. We will not come in the middle on that. I mean, the thing is that we
I
are
think this is what Weed telling you, so you believe that.
Okay, see,
this is what you hear from the think tanks in Washington D.C.
I will not let you attack. I will not let you attack on Moeed Yusuf. He is not here. It is very unfair. You took his name here. I think we should apologize to him.
No, why should I apologize?
No, you cannot say
I don't believe any of these think tank guys who work for the United States government.
I will never have anybody's name and speculate that they are wrong. This is not right.
End the show. Let me ask you this, Riaz. There has to be something wrong, Riaz. There has to be something wrong than US, then Afghanistan, then India, then perhaps Iran. They all have a common complaint.
Iran doesn't have this. Iran's relations are very different with Pakistan. India, Afghanistan, and the United States are on the
terrorism.
Same. Yeah,
that accusation came from Iran too.
It is happening in both directions. Indians are doing this is called proxy war. Mm-hmm. When Pakistan does it, they call it terrorism. When India does it, they call it cross-border. They call it. They don't even acknowledge the proxy war. Okay. They say it's not happening. I mean, this is like closing your eyes to reality. And as far as China is concerned, I'm quite certain that Chinese are not going to just walk away. They have an interest in it. It's not because they love Pakistan, it's because they have a very vital interest in Pakistan.
Okay, so
for their own reasons.
So you're saying that
just as US has a vital interest in India right now, China has a vital interest in Pakistan.
Yeah, you're saying that the common complaint of cross-border terrorism, terrorists coming from Pakistan, going in Afghanistan, attacking places in Afghanistan, and then same complaint from India, and then the US has the same complaint. You're saying all three of them are wrong.
This is called proxy war. You acknowledge one part of the proxy war, but you're not willing to acknowledge the other part of the proxy war. If there's going to be, and I've said that many times before in this discussion, if there's ever going to be any solution to these issues, it has to be a regional solution where all sides stop doing this.
Right.
If the Indians don't send terrorists to Pakistan, like Kulbhushan Yadav, if they don't sponsor Baloch nationalists, if they stop sponsoring the TTP to go and kill Pakistanis, and kill 60,000 of them, then it's possible for Pakistan to say, okay, all right, let's talk, let's stop this from all sides. In fact, there are two authors that have recently, Indians who have written this, that became very, in fact, Indian side is what blew up the deals, both times. First, it was the Agra summit. Musharraf was ready to sign the deal at the last minute. It was torpedoed by Advani. This is what A.S. Dulat has written in his own book. There's an admission of this. Then there was another deal that was happening with Manmohan Singh. They came very close to the Kashmir deal. It was the Indian side that actually blew up the deal. And this is what you hear from Saran. Shyam Saran has written a book about this. So read their own people. Read what they're saying to you. Now, the West, particularly, Americans and the Europeans and the think tanks you have operating here, they don't even acknowledge all of these things happen. Even the Indians are acknowledging that there are issues on their side.
Yeah,
they completely blame Pakistan for everything, which is nonsense.
Because see, the thing is that we are not here to ask for the fairness here from the world. Of course, I mean, the thing is that India is a big market. They see.
Yeah, but you can't make a deal if one side is not willing to make the deal with the other.
No, but
in both of these instances, Pakistan was ready to sign the deal. The Indian side blew it up.
Whatever, but the thing is that that did not sign.
That's what we're talking about.
They did not sign. They did not sign. Whatever.
Misbah, the deal has to be signed if both parties have to agree, both parties has to cooperate, both parties have to show the patience. I mean, there has been instances where India backed out. The Pathankot incident, Pakistani administration may not have anything to do with the Pathankot.
Well, may not be.
Right? But they backed out using the excuse of Pathankot and they backed out from the deal. This constantly happens. What does terrorists want? They want to sabotage the talk. They want to sabotage any deal, right? This is what they want. So India should understand this. Instead of backing out from the deal, right when
I
the
think
deal
part of the problem is they think that they are too big and they can get away with it all. This is the problem they have. They have this arrogance in dealing with Pakistan that they can make Pakistan do whatever they want, dictate terms to Pakistan. And that's not going to happen. Unless they recognize that reality, there's going to be no deal.
And here I agree with Riaz. That was exactly my answer, because India thinks that they don't have to worry about, they don't have any stakes in Pakistan to make a good deal.
Right.
So they say, okay, fine, why not, when we have opportunity, why not we exploit that opportunity and have a zero-sum game?
This is totally, I just don't get this idea.
As long as Modi and the Hindu nationalists are in charge, just read their philosophy. I mean, they have a book, this came out, a textbook. They're teaching the Indian kids in which Hitler is shown as a great leader who they should draw inspiration from.
But how many?
And their own leaders said that. The guy who was the founder of this movement.
How many people in India take such lunatic serious?
They support these people. They vote for them. BJP is winning election after election. You don't realize how radicalized India has become today.
Understand, India is going through the process of radicalization.
Extreme radicalization.
So Riaz, I think we need to, and Misbah, we need to further discuss this topic, further dissect it. And I think in audience in the upcoming shows, we will go deep dive into this topic. Until next week, goodbye.